Hello, Ashley. I am so excited and grateful that we finally made it here to our conversation together on the podcast. So, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I know, I feel like this episode has been like a long time coming. So I'm so grateful that the stars aligned today so we could kind of just have this conversation. And apparently it was meant to be later, so we'd have whatever it is we're going to talk about. So,
Yeah, just for some background context, I've shared with all of you who Ashley is, but I want to share who she is to me. And this morning I was doing this breathwork meditation, and they asked me to tap into a moment where I felt like very, very loved. And it took me back to my birthday. I believe it was my
mm.
29th birthday. And Ashley co-created with my friend Nicole this like incredible birthday in my friend's backyard for me, where it was just like all of the women that I had like attracted into my life in that past year in one place. And I just felt like so seen and so loved, and it was so beautiful. And Ashley was just like, I'm planning your birthday, like I'm taking care of it. And it was even more beautiful than I could have imagined. So Ashley has been a dear friend of mine. We met actually at her husband's, one of his weekend seminars. Her husband's Jake Ducey. He's amazing. You can check both of them out on YouTube. But I met her at this seminar that actually was a big pivotal turning point in my life. And um, a year later, I went back to another one of his seminars, and Ashley and I reconnected, and pretty much my whole life had changed in between those two things.
It was
So,
insane. I was like, whoa, girl.
yeah. So, I really just love, all of the ways that you express yourself through art, through words, through video. And I'm so grateful that my listeners get to experience you today.
Well, I'm just grateful that you are having me. Like, thank
Mhm.
you. I haven't really gotten back into it because I had a baby 6 months ago. So I haven't
Mhm.
really gotten back into too much. So this is such a great intro into being able to communicate in podcast form or interview form. So just thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, I would love for you to share a little bit about your journey to becoming a mother. We haven't talked much about that on the podcast. And I know that it
Yeah.
wasn't just one of those things where it was like this next step and it was just this like autopilot process. Like you were so conscious and intentional
Yeah.
about bringing a new human into the world. So,
Yeah.
walk us through that journey of becoming a mother.
Well, I love that question. I knew I wanted to be a mother always, really. I was really attached but unattached to it at the same time. I was like, whatever is going to happen is going to happen if that decides to come into my life. And about a year before, I decided though, because my husband and I waited quite some time. We'd been together like 6 years, 7 years almost. And I was like, okay, if we're going to do this, then I want it to be really conscious. Like you said, I want to be fully there. So this process for me started a year before we even decided to conceive. I started just with reading and getting kind of more familiar with the birth process. And then that inspired, because when you start reading something, you start diving into something, it really inspires so many other questions or so many other chapters. So after I started reading and I started really getting into the experience of home birth or just all of the different walks of life of birth, I decided that it would be beneficial to start a body cleanse. So I wanted to go about it with like a body, mind, and spirit, like total cleanse. So I started seeing a therapist more frequently and working through some of those sexual traumas, some of the emotional traumas, some of the challenges I had maybe not processed in my life. So I could release those from just like my orb of energy before drawing somebody into that. Because a lot of the time, our children, we don't know this, or maybe you do, but they're really tied, obviously, energetically to you, obviously, but they're also tied to whatever it is generational that's you're holding on to. So I started working on generational stuff, ancestral stuff, and then I also committed myself to a full cleanse, which I went to a facility and I did like a serious cleanse. And that, so I just did it was really important to me to be able to bring life into the world and have her start out with just the best, like my best and her best. And also that relationship between transitioning from being a maiden to a mother is a really influential one. And you only give birth so many times in your life. So I really wanted the power of transformation within that process to be fully felt every single step of the way, from preconception to conception to the prenatal experience to the actual birthing experience and beyond. Because when you can really consciously put energy and time and thought into the process of all of those things, it gives you the opportunity to fully let go of that maidenhood and enter into motherhood without anything pulling you back or any, oh, I wish I still had that. You're fully in being mother. And it's, I really took that seriously.
Mhm.
Which you can or you can't, it doesn't matter because you'll grow either way. But that was my personal journey with it.
Yeah, so beautiful. It's really cool to see like how you have evolved into motherhood, but even just knowing like kind of more of the beginning of your story around, like when you met Jake and where you were at and what you guys have created together is so inspiring. And I know that it takes a lot of the inner work. It takes a lot of
Oh, yeah.
intention. This stuff doesn't just happen by accident. And I think it's so beautiful to even just share this part of your story of shifting from maiden to mother and the inner work that you did and preparing your temple, your body to bring life into this world. I really wish that this was just the norm. I was talking to my partner Nolan about, we talk a lot about like the education system
Mm-hmm.
and and even thinking about like what are the things that parents should be required to do before they even have kids, like even just taking certain parenting classes, and
Yeah.
it's interesting to me that we learn about history and science and all of these things, yet we don't learn about things like money or about relationships and
Yeah.
about this journey to becoming parents, when those are all real life situations that
Mm-hmm.
we need to know. So I love that you've been down this path for yourself, and I think it will open the door for our listeners, anyone who is considering becoming a mother one day, to really go about that journey in a conscious, intentional way. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm 100% here for that conversation.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit, and I'd love for you to share. I know you have an amazing YouTube channel, and you're passionate about spirituality. You're also an artist, and I'd love to go back to when you were still working. I believe it was like in retail, and like
Yes.
hadn't quite stepped into your own power and your own creativity. Walk us through that journey of the big transformation from where you were to becoming an artist.
Oh yeah, that's a huge part of my story. And honestly, that's a lot of what it is that I share and what I've connected to spiritually has been through the evolution of stepping into my desire and my abundance and what I wanted, which was to be this artist. And I started about when I was probably 21 on really diving into my spiritual journey. And that took me to California where I was working retail. And that was a dream in its own. So I was overjoyed to just be experiencing like being on my own and all of that. But I was working like sometimes 60 hours a week and I was making nothing. And I was this constant cycle of just like, okay, I'm experiencing what I want to be experiencing, but at the same time, financially, energetically, everything's being kind of leached from me. So consistently working 9 to 5, more than 9 to 5, not making much, it really started taking its toll. And I decided, I was like, hey, I don't feel inspired by anything. Like I'm just kind of showing up. And I decided to kind of start dabbling in my art, which I'd been an artist my whole life, but I'd really taken a huge sabbatical because I had some like emotional stuff that I hadn't processed and been through. So I took this huge long break. So I decided to bring it back in and I was like, you know what? I just am looking for something, searching. And I started creating art again. And one thing led to another, of course, divine intervention. And I started wood burning, which is what I do now. I'm a wood burning mandala artist. And if anyone doesn't know what wood burning is, it's kind of like taking like a really hot tool and engraving into a piece of wood, and I do mandalas. So, I'm sure everyone's familiar with mandalas here. So I started working on that and I got a lot of interest in it. And I was like, maybe, but I was terrified. I was working retail and I was making money, and I was fine with it, and I was super scared to go out on a limb and risk, working on art and putting my heart and soul into it and failing. Really, at the beginning for me, it was the fear of failure. It was
Mm,
this idea that, what if I try this and I'm embarrassed because it doesn't work out? And everyone in my life sees that it doesn't work out. And that was the big hurdle for me. Wasn't even about me. It was about what everyone else would think about me if it
mhm,
didn't work out. And I just had to decide one day. I just sat down. I remember the specific day, and I was probably 23. And I was like, okay, I'm going to burn all the boats, and I'm staying right here. I will become a professional artist no matter what. And I remember making that clear decision was what really shifted my energy, because everything in my life became about this one goal. Because this one goal was the center of my world. It was my job now became a contributing factor to me not working the job and becoming the full-time artist I want to be. So I started setting up little tiny goals for myself with doing shows or doing all of these things that made me so uncomfortable, putting myself out there, working on art for hours and hours and hours,
mhm,
and signing up for shows, selling myself to people, like all of these things, right? Like our goals ask us to really grow and really stretch. And that was my stretch zone. Once I had made that commitment, it was time to start stretching. And I began stretching by, just making art, selling art, and really getting in flow with that. My pieces started at like $250, $200. And that whole journey was one in itself too, of everything with that. But I started out small and I committed, and I made my job. It was full time. I cut it down to part time. I worked part time. I cut it down to nothing, full fledged artist, as I started really gaining traction with it. So yeah, and then I used scripting. That was a game changer for me my whole entire journey. And I used that to really attract towards me selling what I wanted to be selling, which was $10,000 pieces, collections of work. I wanted to be in a studio. I wanted to be, people to buy my art all over the world. So I really used writing to help create that and unfold that in a
mhm.
part of that process. But yeah, and now I'm here today. And in a nutshell, the whole journey from start to, it's not finished yet, but the continuation has really been about me finding spiritual growth through the experience of art, and me having this dream of becoming an artist, because it asked me to become so many other things that I wouldn't have been if I would have stayed at that retail job, doing that monotonous 9 to 5. So, and I teach a lot about that, which opened up my law of attraction, spirituality YouTube channel. So,
Mhm. Amazing. Yeah, I love this intersection of spirituality and creativity, and how specifically I wanted to point out this part in your journey where you had abandoned art or let go of art because of
mm,
some energy blocks, because of some emotional stuff that was blocking you from actually being creative. And that's a big part, even when we look at the chakra system and energetics, is when we have blockages in other areas, we're not able to access the divine, we're not able to access our highest intelligence and tap into that when there's stored trauma and stored emotions in the body, or when we haven't really connected to ourselves in that way. And so I absolutely love this intersection of spirituality and art. And I think your story speaks to anyone, whether they want to be an artist, because there's such a huge story. And I see this in the coaching industry as well,
mm,
or for healers. It's like kind of like this broke artist or broke healer story where it's like, I can't be successful doing what I love. There's this idea that only some people are successful doing what they love, or you have to have a secure and stable job because that's what society has programmed you to think is safe and secure. And this idea that if I were to go down the path of the unknown, the belief system that it's not actually possible is so powerful that it stops
Yes,
you from taking action. And so you
absolutely.
mentioned fear of failure, and would imagine there's this, there is this collective belief around, oh, you have to go down, only this path is going to be successful. But if you try to be an artist, like only some artists are
Oh yeah.
successful.
Oh yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah, that was a huge one. Totally. Those
Yeah.
like karmic, not those things that were taught at a young age that we can or can't be, right? Like I told my mom when I was 10 years old that I wanted to be, my purpose in life was to be an artist. I literally said that to my mom. I said, "I'm so happy, Mom." She said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I found my passion in life, and it's to be an artist." And then you go through all those years where you're kind of molded and shaped by the outer environment, by go to college, do this. Artists can't make any money. If you're a coach, you can't make any money. Whatever that preconceived thing, it's not even your belief. It's you're taking it from so many different places. And really starting my journey was about having to know that those are going to be there, but I have to punch through them
Mhm.
until I'm broken away from them.
Mhm.
When you go after whatever your dream is, whoever's listening to this, whatever your dream is, once you really start stepping into it and you go after it, it's about finding freedom in the dream of all of the different things that maybe you've been told that aren't actually true, because your dream is the truth. And it's about getting everything away from that dream so you can just be, and that's the journey of it all, really.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so cool.
So let's go back. You talked about like using law of attraction and scripting and how you started to shift these beliefs. So you told your story, like the journey, and I'd love to peel back some of the layers for women who are listening of what did it take to really transform your mindset and to step into that vision and keep pursuing it even in times where maybe you didn't have the evidence that you were going to be able to sell $10,000
Oh yeah.
pieces. So
Oh
what
yeah.
was that like? And
That
what are
was
some of the tools?
that was such a far-fetched dream. At one point I was like, I don't know. That was definitely my C-type goal of like, I have no idea how this is going to happen. But that's a great question. For me, it's really about leaning into having unwavering faith and to know that when you take a leap of faith, that you're really always, always supported by the universe, by God, by spirit, by divine, by Mother Earth, whatever you want to call that spirit in your life. You're always supported because it's literally is you. It's a part of you. And so discovering that in my spiritual journey really helped me lean into that knowing, and having a knowing that my whole entire life is completely guided. The good things that come in, the bad things that come in, the whatever, it's all being divinely guided. And so leaning into that, but probably first and foremost, when I began my journey when I was 2021, and that started in Utah, and it started with leaving and moving to California, which then led to art and everything. It was journaling. That was my lifeline. Like I didn't know much about spirituality. I hadn't done much reading, but I knew it felt good to journal. And I was at a really dark place in my life, really dark place. And that's when I just went crazy and I was like, I'm going to change my whole life because that's what I need. And I did that. But the way I was able to attract everything in my life was through the process of journaling. And I showed up to journaling every day
Mhm.
without fail. Like if I had 20 minutes in my car, if I had 45 minutes in the morning, whatever, I always made it a habit to journal. And the consistency of journaling was, it was the most incredible thing that has ever happened to me in my life. And I've been able to attract everything I've ever journaled. And I
Mm.
can really say that, yeah, I can say that like wholeheartedly. So don't underestimate that power of journaling. If you have that practice, show up to it, lean into it. That's you telling the universe, God, divine, that you're showing up. And when you can show and you can show up in that way and you can make that contract, right? You're journaling, you're writing, you can make that contract every day. It it speaks volumes for your energy
Mhm.
and what it is you want to experience and your commitment to it. And so, me being able to, I would say, to answer your question, there was obviously a multitude of things that really aligned, but scripting and journaling was by far the most influential to happen in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate very similarly in my practice that really landed for me first was meditation. And I
Mm,
can single handedly say that meditation has changed and continues to change my life. And I've also used, especially when I was going through like the biggest part of my transformation and really visioning what it is that I want to create for myself, I used scripting and I used other methods of self hypnosis to
mhm.
really feel what it would feel like to already have the thing that I desired the most. And so I'd love to go a little bit deeper into
Yeah.
this scripting practice
Yes.
that you have. I'm going to be doing a
Mhm.
whole separate episode coming up soon around believing it before you see it. This is
Oh,
really what we're
great.
talking
Oh,
about. So we'll go
yeah.
deeper into that. But I would love for you to share. So, most people, when they think about journaling,
Yeah.
they probably think about like writing about their feelings or writing about the things that are going on in their inner world, which is really powerful. And there's
Yeah.
also so many different styles of journaling. So if we're talking specifically about journaling for manifestation or journaling for personal transformation, let's talk about what's a
Yeah.
scripting practice even is.
Okay. This is like literally one thing I'm most passionate about is journaling and scripting. I talk about it on my channel all the time because it's so valuable and so many people are interested in it. So if you're interested in it, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's so the way that I look at my scripting practice and what's really worked for me and what I teach is that your scripting, your journal. So I have my journal right here, but I don't want to clumper around. Your journal is your place for only good. And that's the way I've always looked at every single journal of mine. I can have a separate journal for if I need to be angry or work through something and I have turmoil about something and I really want to release it and let it go. Then I have a separate journal for that. But my journal is like my Bible. Like I look at it and I know every single page, once it's completed, every single page is filled with positivity. It's filled with good things. It's filled with spirit. It's filled with the unconditional love that I desire and I want to radiate in my life. So, yes, you can, for me, scripting isn't writing about um, how I'm feeling that day. Oh, I'm so mad at my husband because he left the trash, whatever. It's not about that. It's not about the day to day for me. It's about really drawing in what it is I want to feel and what it is I want to come true. So it's, speaking from experience, it's speaking from your now moment. It's, I'm so grateful that today, every single moment, I feel connected to the spirit that lives within and around me. I can breathe knowing that I am held and I am loved and I'm radiating the beauty of who I am authentically to the world. Everyone who comes across my path loves and appreciates my energy. I'm so grateful that I attract so much good towards me. It feels so powerful. I feel so empowered. I feel so grateful. That's what journaling is to me. It's
Mm.
about really because once you can, and it is in the beginning for me because it was a journey, and I found a great little what do you want to call it concoction of being able to really script. But the beginning was really talk about manifesting things like I wanted this to come true, I wanted that to come true, which is a big part of it, right? So if you're on the other end of this, you're listening, you want to manifest a car, you want to manifest a promotion, you want to manifest a job. Yes, absolutely. You can attract all those things by simply writing about it. But for me, what I've realized through the evolution, what I've been writing about 10 years now, is that if you really start with your center and the point of who you are and what you're offering the world around you, that's the energetic shift that will take you to where you're a magnet, whatever it is you desire. So
Mhm.
if you can focus on your energy and what you're giving and what you're offering, showing up in that way to the pages of your journal by simply acting as if, maybe you don't feel good that day. Like there was plenty of days I didn't feel good or I wasn't like me, I was in a bad mood and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to talk about how I want to feel right now. how I want others to feel about me when they see me. And I focused there, and it really allows you to align in a really deep and powerful and spiritual way. And the universe is totally at your back, you know?
Mhm.
And I don't know if did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a beautiful explanation. I love the example that you gave. And I know that on your channel, you give a lot of different examples of affirmations and of, scripting and how to do scripting. So for anyone who wants to like go deeper into this and learn more
Yeah.
from Ashley about scripting, definitely check out her YouTube channel. We're going to link that in the show notes. Um, but I really want to talk about what this does on an energetic level when
Oh,
we
yeah.
connect to our higher self, when we are in the practice of scripting, even if you're having a bad day, once you have scripted, once you have, this is a way to shift your vibrational frequency from that place of being in a bad mood to realigning with your higher self, to realigning with love. So it is a practice where we can shift from fear or doubt or worry
Hmm.
into love through the intentional practice of scripting and journaling about your future. And the most important part is that you're doing it and writing it as if it's already happened, as if it's already here. So you can feel it. And on a vibrational level, we're actually shifting the cells in your body, we're shifting the
Yes.
frequency, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, can you share when we do that, how does that support people in attracting what it is that they desire?
So if you look at it, okay, if you've seen The Secret, great. If you haven't seen The Secret, great. There's this little portion of The Secret where where there's this clip and it's this guy, he's getting out of bed and he stubs his toe. Does everyone remember that scene where he's like, oh, and then his whole day is a domino effect, right? So a lot of the time and in a lot of experiences we have every single day, we're especially right now with everything going on, we're bombarded with the experiences of everything happening around us and we're not making the conscious choice. We're just accepting, we're absorbing it. It's like stubbing your toe. You know, you allow it to be that domino effect of your day and one thing leads to another thing leads to another thing leads to another because like attracts like, right? It's a scientific evidence, like attracts like. So if we want to take control of our life, which if you're trying to create anything or manifest anything in your life, it's really about taking control of your life. It's about taking responsibility. It's about taking action. It's about taking ownership of who it is you are and how you're showing up in the world. And with that comes a commitment to committing to, you know what, I'm going to shift my mindset. It doesn't matter what billboard I see today or how long I'm stuck in traffic today. Like I'm going to shift my energy, like you were saying, to something that feels good. I intend to feel good. That's one of my favorite statements by Wayne Dyer. I intend to feel good. And that's one thing I talk about always in scripting. I intend to feel good today.
Mm.
And when you can really root your intention of how it is you're feeling, you're taking control of your life. You're saying, no, this is how I'm going to feel today. I just stubbed my toe, but it is all good because the universe is conspiring for me today. Everywhere I go and everything I do is completely aligned with source energy. And I feel great. I feel this presence in my life. It's shifting and realigning with goodness because goodness attracts goodness. And if we want to be a magnet to success, to miracles, to perfect health, to anything we desire, we have to be in the vibration of good. And when we
Mm.
can be in the vibration of good, this spirit says, oh, I'm going to bring goodness her way or his way because that's where they're showing up. You know, we are going to see whatever we see in our life based off of the frequency that we are feeling right now. And that's why scripting's so powerful because when you can act as if, you know, you can show up and say, I intend to feel good today and goodness is coming my way, then you're taking control of your life and preparing for that to be your experience.
Yeah, I just want everyone who's listening to check in with how you're feeling through this conversation. One of my favorite things about podcasting is that you can actually feel your energy shift through tuning in to the frequency and the transmission of what we're talking about here. And as Ashley's talking, I'm feeling into this frequency of aligning with good and can feel that in my body. And I'm wanting to invite you to notice that if you're noticing any slight shifts that are happening right now, it's because you are tuning into the frequency of this conversation. And Ash, one of the things that I really admire about you, and the things that I think has really brought you to where you are today on your journey, is your deep faith, is your level of belief that you've cultivated. And for people who feel disconnected from that,
Mm.
I'd love to hear from you, like, where did that start for you? Did you always believe in the universe? Did you always believe in this energy of good? Like, was this always part of your life, or has this been something that you've cultivated? Was there a turning point for you? I want to dig a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, well, we are all born from the same source. You know, we're made up of the stars, and the universe is within each of us. So naturally, we have that. But I really feel like being on a spiritual path, spiritual journey, is really about creating connection to it. You know, it's really about creating conscious connection to it. And when you can continuously create conscious connection, you can evolve in ways that you wouldn't have been able to evolve if you were just like on autopilot. You know, and that's so for me, I feel like I was always a lover. You know, my mom will tell you through and through, I was always like, no, we don't want to fight. I was always a peacemaker. That was like my position in my family, which was something great, but something I've also had to work with. That's like,
Mhm.
but this journey really started for me when I was 21. That like I remember it. It was like, whoa, something's going on, huge shift happening. And I was in a place in my life that was really dark, and it wasn't where I wanted to be. It wasn't even dark.
Mhm.
It wasn't where I wanted to be. It felt wrong, you know, it didn't feel good in my body. I knew something wasn't right. So I started kind of uncovering and doing some work, and I was like, "Okay, what lights me up? Like, what lights me up?" And I remember making a list of 3 things. It was like yoga and like just a random list. I don't even think I remember anymore. And I was like, why am I not doing that? Like, what's stopping me? And it was really challenging for me to let go of everything and have no idea what's going to be out here. You know, I was really comfortable in my life. I was really comfortable with who I was with. You know, I know you've experienced the same thing. I had to make a choice though. I knew it wasn't right. I said, okay, Ashley, in 10 years, if this was your life, would you be happy at the end of the day? Is this where you want to be? And I said, no. So I knew I had to make that big change.
Mm.
And I had never had that unwavering faith in the universe before. I had never taken a leap of faith. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have I was scared, you know, and in order to do that, I really had to lean in and start creating ways to connect to feeling good intentionally because I was pretty depressed. So when I did make the big move, I was in a brand new place. I had to start creating those connections, and I created those connections through journaling. I created those connections through yoga, was a big one for me. I started creating those connections through meditation, you know, through when you're making this huge shift in your life, and maybe someone who's listening is making this shift, or they're thinking of making this shift, you know, or they're working with you in making this shift. It's about creating as many connections to a higher source or higher wisdom that's going to provide you happiness. That's what's going to get you through. And that for me started when I was 21, and it started, you know, changing my whole life and really diving into, okay, I'm safe and I'm held, and the only way I'm going to make it through this is having unwavering faith
Mhm.
that this better work out, you know? Like, I don't know, but it better work out. And I know it's going to work out, you know, and just repeating that and have that become that became my new, like it was law, you know,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
it's going to be okay. I got this. Like, I'm not alone here. Like, this spirit is working for me. And really, really committing yourself to that belief system is really going to empower you in times that you feel really low, or you feel really, you know, you're taking that leap. You
Mhm.
know, you're not alone. Like, the universe, God, source, it's here and it's providing always, and it will always be your partner, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, that was what I had to do. I just had to keep creating those connections.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Super inspiring, and it's been a big part of my journey too, is like
Mm,
cultivating that deeper sense of faith so that it's louder than the fear, so that I'm more connected to that than anything
exactly.
that comes my way. It's like, no, that is how I view the world. That is how I move through the world. That is my core belief system, that,
Core belief
you
system.
know, the universe is here supporting me every step of the way, even when it's scary, even when it doesn't make sense,
Hmm.
even when I can't see the results. That is the perspective that I have reprogrammed my mind to believe, and it is a core belief system that we're talking about shifting here. So thank you for
Absolutely.
bringing that, you know, to light, and sharing about your journey to choosing to align with that and intentionally creating that for yourself.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better. It's what you said, core belief. It's
Hmm.
total, it's about shifting that to be your core belief,
Hmm.
and knowing, like, there was multiple times in the last year before my daughter was born, just different things, even with my husband, that, moving this or this felt like there was quite a few things that felt like it was just a shit show. It was like not working out. I was like, oh my God, this is not happening, but I knew in the back of my mind, hey, no, this has a bigger plan for us. Like, this is guiding us somewhere. I know it is. It sucks right now, like
Hmm.
bad. And like, it feels really bad, but I know in the bigger picture, you know, bigger picture, it's
Hmm.
taking me somewhere. So see that bigger picture, whatever that is in your life. If you're stuck somewhere right now, take a step back and see the big picture. This is just a temporary moment, and it actually is here for you.
Hmm.
Just like what you said, it's core belief. This is here for me is a core belief.
So beautiful. Yeah. So good. I feel like there is one more piece that I want to wrap up with today, and
Yeah.
really about like being the creator of your reality. You are an artist, you are
Yeah.
creative, you know, have this link between spirituality and art. And I know that, you know, a lot of people are not living in a way where they feel like they are intentionally creating their reality. So let's talk about being a creator. Like, what does
Okay.
that mean to you,
Yeah.
and how would you like to share about that from your experience?
So there's this great movie. It's called Soul, and it's on Disney Plus, because I watched Disney Plus with my
I
daughter.
watched it recently.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. But there was this amazing, I love that movie, but there was this amazing part, and he's in the spirit world, and he's in this place. And in this place, this man, go watch the movie, it's incredible. But you'll remember the scene. He's in this place and he's like, what's going on here? And it's people doing what they're profoundly in love with. And they've transcended being in the three-dimensional earth world, and they're up in this spirit world, and they're just living in this zone of just like pure connection. And then obviously they go back down to their bodies. Do you remember that scene
Hmm.
where he's like seeing
Yeah.
people do that? And when people get in that zone, you can watch them get in that zone.
Hmm.
So that's what my art's really been about for me. And you can put that in any context, whether you're running, whether you're whatever it is you love to create, you get lost in it. And there's a power within that. And that's what I'm most passionate about, is getting within that power, getting within that flow state,
Hmm.
and really being able to experience, whether it's nothing, or maybe you're thinking about things and you're working through thoughts and all these things. It's when we can be in a space of letting go, that we can really see our life in that bigger picture of, I'm not showing up here, or why do I have that, why am I stuck there, like what's going on with me there. You can think through things, but then at the same time you can also get lost through things, and when you're in that creation mode. For
Hmm.
me, my work is really diligent, it's really structured, so there's a lot of thinking that takes place for me. Some people don't think at all, which sometimes I don't think at all, but sometimes I'm thinking a lot. And sometimes I'm making mistakes, or I'm showing up to my piece of artwork, and it's the same exact way I'm showing up in my life, of what's working and what's not working. So if you can think of something you're in creation mode with, um, I want you to, next time you're in that creation mode, I want you to be in it, and to also be a little bit alert as well, of like, what am I thinking here? Like, what's the process like for me? What am I connecting to? What are fears that are coming up for me? I run an art program, and that's something I'm really passionate about. And whenever, my first thing I do is I take a picture and I say, draw this picture. And it's a picture of an apple or whatever. And they sit down and they draw it, and I give them 5 minutes. And I say, okay, how was your experience? well, the whole entire time I was beating myself up about it. I was like, oh, this doesn't look good. I can't do that. I'm blah, blah, blah. What is the internal dialogue that's showing up to when you're in your creation mode? Are you being defeated? Are you being energized? Are you being, what's showing up for you? And it's about diving into that inner dialogue and seeing where it's showing up in every other area of your life.
Mhm.
So for creating for me is entering that conversation of, okay, what is this piece? What is this journey trying to teach me right now? Like each piece has a journey. Each piece is teaching me something. It's teaching me about letting go. It's teaching me about letting go of expectations, or releasing the idea that I need to be perfect, or everyone has a story. And I believe whenever you're in a creation mode with whatever choice of artwork or action you're taking or doing, it can teach you that. It can teach you something that you need to know if you can
Mhm.
connect to it.
Mhm.
And that's the power of creation, is getting lost, but at the same time, totally getting found
Mhm.
in what it is you're doing. So
Amazing.
it's the best.
Yeah, I love how much of a personal development journey that is when we can
Oh
actually
yeah.
look and see
Woo!
it as a mirror. Like, where else am I showing
Yes.
up like that? Or where else am I being a perfectionist or being really
Yeah.
hard on myself? And I love that this is the way that you teach art, is the artist journey, right? Of
Yeah.
creation. So
Right.
I know that there's going to be many people who are interested in learning more about that and would
It's
love
cool.
to, yeah, would love to share where they can find you and continue to follow your work. So where's the
Yeah.
best place for people to
Um,
connect with you?
so the best ways, so I just recently deleted my Instagram. So sorry, can't connect with me there. But
Mhm.
I have a website, ashleyhallart.com, and that has a lot of great content. It has my artwork and a few galleries. And it also has a whole entire section about my art classes.
Mhm.
And then also my YouTube channel is where I post content now. I don't have any other social media outlets. So
Mhm.
that's the only place that I will be. But my email is available at either both of those. So
Mhm.
if you want to email me or check out my online art classes, go to my website, ashleyhallart.com, and I would love to chat. I don't have any plans for an upcoming one right now, but I definitely, it's such a passion of mine to teach
Mhm.
art in that way of discovery, that I definitely will be doing another one in the future. So
Amazing. Well, thank you for
yeah,
being here. Thank you for
thank
sharing our
you.
wisdom. Thank you for
Yeah.
spending time with us today. And I am really excited for everyone to take all of this in and to, yeah, just receive your love and your wisdom. So thanks for being here.
Well, I applaud you for creating this because this is amazing. So thank you.
Thanks.